Hello, and welcome back to Practically Political. Once again, it's great to have you. I'm Dave Spencer.
And I'm Carrie Sheffield. Glad to have you. I'm here in Washington. It's exciting with inauguration efforts. But let's get right to it, Dave. We've got a new president who's going to be sworn in just a few days. I'm curious, how do you think he's changed since 2017 when he took oath the first time? And do you think he'll be more effective because he's got a raft of executive orders that he wants to put in? Do you think he'll be more effective this time?
Well, first of all, he's not a new president. He's the oldest president ever to take office. So let's get that squared away. And he's a lot more addled than he was eight years ago. Takes him longer to say things and do things. I'm not saying he's deteriorated to Biden's stage, but look at Donald Trump in 2017 and look at him in 2025 and tell me that there hasn't been a deterioration. But anyway, to answer your question, there's always a lot of talk. But let's go back and look at the history. Legislatively, what did Donald Trump achieve in his first term? Only one thing, and that was that disastrous tax cut. And the main reason for that is that he's just not very good at governing. He's lazy, he's disorganized, he's incurious. Often his opinion is based on the last person with whom he spoke. So, for example, there'll be a deal that he's made with Congress, and then Stephen Miller, one of his right-wing people will talk him out of it and the deal will be closed. A classic example of that was the deal they had during his first administration with the Dreamers, which 80% of the country supports. And then Stephen Miller said, oh, no, Mr. President, your base is going to like that. So he bailed out of the deal. So he's not a very reliable partner in terms of getting things done. And that's why he really didn't get very much done. So you can't teach an old dog new tricks, the oldest cliche in the book, but it passed here. He wasn't very much different during the campaign. The difference in the campaign was not Donald Trump, but the difference in the campaign was the campaign itself, because Chris Levita and Susie Wiles ran a very good campaign. But Donald Trump was as off the rails, particularly during the last 2 weeks, as ever. So this is a long-winded answer, and I've said this on the show before. I give people the benefit of the doubt. I'm hoping for the best. Trump has an opportunity, if he really thinks about it, to have a great legacy where he could actually get some good stuff done. But to be honest with you, I will believe it when I see it. And I think a lot of the early signs, particularly as we'll talk about later, some of the things that he wants to do, I think are impractical, hideously expensive, and would have huge economic damage. But what say you?
Well, this is why I like our show, because we have such different perspectives. I think Trump is sharper and stronger and more focused now compared to 2017, in part because he knows what to expect. So, for example, one slice of this, I was a journalist in 2020 in the White House press room. And I know they are wanting to change their press room strategy to allow for more perspectives, because the press room right now is totally not representative of the country. The country is pretty evenly split, 50-50. When you look at even just the approval of where Trump is, he's about 50-50. He's even higher than he was in 2017 in terms of approval. The press
he never hit 50% his entire administration. He never hit.
Well, he is now, and that speaks to the fact
when
that
he's out of office.
Well, no, I think he's more disciplined. I think the assassination attempt actually helped sharpen his focus to be more unifying. I saw a change in him. This is just my perspective. I listened to you.
Oh, there you go. I agree. I'm listening.
Yeah. So I also think when you look at the executive orders that he's got in place, I agree he didn't accomplish as much legislatively as I would have liked to see, but partially that was because he didn't have more the level of unity among the Republicans. Well, he was successful at primarying a lot of the people who would be obstructing his legislative agenda. And so that's why I think you're actually going to see more bills passed. That's where you're going to see, he's already put forward 3 major areas where he wants to have legislative accomplishments: immigration, reforming the tax bill, renewing it, and also energy policy, the baby drill stuff. So I think legislatively, we're going to see a lot more unity from Republicans, because it wasn't just, it was disunity. I mean, I'll never forget, the John McCain. John McCain had, I heard this directly from someone who was very plugged into all of the debate around Obamacare. John McCain was going to vote to repeal it. Like, that was his plan. He'd made promises and promises, and then he goes up there and he does he kills the whole deal. And the reason why he
Thank
did it
God.
was because he hates Donald Trump personally. And that is, to my opinion, a tragedy, that he would put his anger and hatred toward Donald Trump away from changing our healthcare so that we can have more competition, more price transparency, better healthcare options. And he allowed his personal ego to get, God rest his soul. He's an American hero. I'm not going to disparage anything about that. But that action is an example of part of why Donald Trump didn't get as much as he wanted legislatively. So
No,
I think he's in a better position. I think also you and I completely disagree on the tax bill, but the truth is the revenues were much higher than were projected when the bill first passed. And so all of the
that's because of the
cataclysmic.
economy. That was nothing to do with the tax cuts.
Well, and why did the economy grow? Because of the tax bill.
No, because the economy was continuing to grow. It hasn't grown as much as it has under Biden. It's done better under Biden under any. But let me just go back to this healthcare thing, because this is a classic. One of the reasons that Donald Trump wasn't reelected was because of that whole Obamacare fiasco. Because remember, during his entire, just like we're going to have infrastructure week, Donald Trump is infamous for his empty promises. He said we were going to see his healthcare plan. We never had it because he never had one. And so he was going to take away health care from 30 million people with no plan. And so I think that's BS about John McCain. John McCain realized that there was no plan, and he did what was best for the country. And again, hopefully Donald Trump will come up with a health care plan one of these decades. But as far as a lot of the,
We're going to disagree on that, Dave, because
we certainly are. We
there's
certainly are, but there is no health care plan. Obamacare is more popular than ever. And by the way, you notice you're not hearing talks of repealing it this time, because they know it'd be political suicide. And Donald Trump had the same Republican unity in the first term, or the first 2 years he had control. He actually had a greater majority in the House than he does this time. And I think that's something to be also taken into consideration. So when you look at what's going on, as far as Donald Trump changing, I think the convention speech after the assassination attempt was a perfect microcosm of that, because you notice for the first 20 minutes, it was a new Donald Trump. He was talking about in the how he had changed, and only for the grace of God was he here. Well, that lasted about 20 minutes. Then you had this prolixity that went on for the longest convention speech in history, which, by the way, broke his own record. And it was the same old Donald Trump. So a dog doesn't change his spots, a leopard doesn't change his spots, which is, the oldest cliche. So again, I'm hopeful. I would love to see a new Donald Trump. I would love to see a more pragmatic Donald Trump. I would love to see him more organized, more efficient, more prepared. Maybe he could start by reading his presidential daily brief, which he didn't do the first 4 years. So we'll see. He's our president. I'm not one of these people that is so consumed with hatred that I've never hated Donald Trump. I've just hated his policies. And I really hope, for the sake of the country, that he has changed, but the evidence so far is to the contrary. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Time will tell, but